keep in mind too, I think the cool thing about podcasts is the informality of it,
Mhm.
to where it is just a conversation more than like a recorded speech
Right.
or a recorded like a video, like an ad or something that is recorded. Like that has a different feel than just a conversation.
And that's why I think it's low key better if you are podcasting to either have it narrative based
Mhm.
or to have a person on there with you.
Mhm.
Because I remember back in the day when we didn't have our good rhythm set up yet, we didn't have a schedule set up yet. There would be times where I do the podcast by myself, you do the podcast by yourself, and listening back those episodes. No shade to either of us as individuals, because we're great people. But even our number one fan, Grandy, was like, "Yeah,
It wasn't the same.
you need each other on the podcast. It's just a different type of energy."
Yeah.
All right, we're out. Coaching is what happens when the cameras turn off. What's going on, bud? Welcome back. So again, today we'll be going through the kind of 7 steps of launch, but more specifically, looking at the podcast. Want to start off with why start a podcast or why start a business. Queen, you want me to dive in? You want to go?
If you have something, go for it.
Oh, okay. So for podcasting, do you have a message, right, that you want more and more people to hear?
Yeah.
Basic, simple. Our message, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is we want people to hear about healthy resources, health information, wealth information. We want to make that readily accessible for our friends, for our family, and for the Black community out there to get this information, period. So for you, if you have a certain message, a certain story, whether it's trauma you've been through or healing that you want to share with the community, starting a podcast or starting a blog is a great way to do it. There's so many platforms out there, the
Right.
YouTube, the Spotify, the Apple Music. You can turn your vlogs or your podcast into blogs and just a lot of other content. So I would say starting off, if you have a certain message that you want to get out there and you're trying to reach more people, doing it through a podcast is a beautiful way to go. How about you, Queen?
Yeah, I think is if you kind of going back to your first point, if you have something to say that
Mhm.
you need to get out there, it is a great forum to do that.
Mhm.
Especially if you're like, if videos is not necessary, like you can take it and make it a video, but you don't have to. Like there are a lot of podcasts out there that are just the audio. So if being on camera is not like your main thing and doing videos, then a podcast is a great way to get your message out there and just be able to talk and have just like informal conversations. Or if you want to invite guests, maybe you learn from a mentor and you want other people to have access to that same information. Like you can tell stories. Like I just listened to, I don't remember where we were going, but we heard an ad about like a podcast that was about to start about like moments that a stranger was in need and some random person came and saved them,
Mhm.
saved them in their time of need, and like a whole podcast on different moments and different stories about that happening. So it's like literally you can podcast about anything. So I think it's just a good forum to get your message heard. If you have something that people should hear or that is it just entertaining, right? That it's a great forum to start.
So talk to me through, right? We started this podcast 2.5 years ago, right? What were you first thinking when I came to you and I was like, Queen, let's start a podcast? What were your first initial thoughts? You remember?
I don't remember what my first initial thoughts, but I kind of was just like, okay, why not?
Nice.
Like kind of like there's nothing to lose.
Mhm.
Like, and we do have stuff that we want to say and like information that we believe should get out there. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we do a lot of talking anyways. Might as well let the people in on some of our
Yeah, we do.
conversations. So yeah, I feel like it was more like a why not situation. Like, why not? I didn't know what to expect. I didn't necessarily, and I know I am a very futuristic person, but I didn't necessarily think about like, what are we gonna look like after 100 episodes? Like,
No.
when are we gonna? Yeah, like I didn't necessarily think about where it would go from there, but it seemed like a good thing to do at the time because we had kind of started vlogging a little bit. And already doing a lot of like videos that were going on YouTube. So it seemed like a natural next step, like start a podcast. And that was also around the time that I was like getting into podcasts. So it also, yes, like listening. I feel like I was late to the game a little bit, but I feel like right around then is when I also started listening to like Model Health Show and Ultimate Health Podcast and S2S Podcast. So I feel like it was like, oh, okay, yeah, like I can do that. Yeah. Maybe we'll work to get to that level, but like we can do that.
Yeah. So what do you think after 2.5 years has been the biggest lesson you learned in podcasting, or like how you developed as an entrepreneur, as a health coach, speaker? What's the change that you've seen
in myself?
Yeah.
Honestly, it has helped me a lot with like the public speaking on the fly. Okay. Because like, yes,
we making up did you knows.
Look, when I tell you, let me just explain to y'all the mini heart attack I had about 3 minutes ago when we started this, because I was like, literally, I didn't even think about the did you know until that countdown went. And even it was like the last 10 seconds of the countdown. And then you were like, oh, I'm going to need you for the outline. And I was like, okay. And I went to the outline and I saw, did you know? And I was like, but yeah, the fact that I even was able to do that, like I was at first going to be like, okay, yeah, we'll just scratch the did you know? Like, I was going to be like nudging you on the knee, like just skip it. But the fact that I was even able to do that on the fly, like shows me how much I have been able to grow. Because yes, I have done public speaking in the past, but best believe I was practicing for a very long time. Yeah. Word for word, having the paper in front of me. So it's a little bit different on a podcast because we have a rough outline, but truthfully, sometimes I get on here without really having looked at the outline.
Oh, word?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you know that. That's more to the audience. But the fact that I have been able to get comfortable enough to come on here on camera live and just talk shows me that I have evolved into being more comfortable in just talking and speaking my mind and sharing what's on my mind at the moment.
So for anyone out there who's thinking about starting a podcast, but maybe they're on the fence about it, maybe they are introverted like you are, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to that introverted person that's like, I don't know if I want to start a podcast, but they know they want to get into business, they know they have a message? What would you tell that person?
I would say it does alleviate stress to have an outline. So just make sure that you do outline. Like if if the thought of being on there without knowing, knowing what to say, and I'm thankful to have him. So that's a part of why I don't feel the need to like be so stringent on the outline, because I know that we already have great conversation and it naturally flows.
You think we have great conversation?
I do, but I wouldn't have married you if I didn't. But I feel like even if I'm like at a loss for words, like I know you'll always have some good question or a random story or anecdote or whatever that will give me something to work with. But if you're doing it solo, have an outline for each episode, so that like that you can always go back to, like, oh shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Okay, well, let me just go back to the outline and get back on topic. But just keep in mind too, I think the cool thing about podcasts is the informality of it. So where it is just a conversation more than like a recorded speech. Right. Or a recorded, like a video, like an ad or something that is recorded. Like that has a different feel than just a conversation.
And that's why I think it's low-key better if you are podcasting to either have it narrative based or to have a person on there with you. Because I remember back in the day when we didn't have our good rhythm set up yet, we didn't have a schedule set up yet, there would be times where I do the podcast by myself, you do the podcast by yourself, and listening back those episodes, no shade to either of us as individuals, because we're great people. But even our number one fan, Grandy, was like, yeah,
it wasn't the same.
You need each other on the podcast. It's just a different type of energy.
Yeah.
Right. Like me just talking, and sometimes I ramble. I'm sure that is less entertaining than when there is the back and forth, or if I'm telling a narrative that has certain point and a rhythm to it.
Right. Yeah. So I think that, like, again, if you are out there and you're a little more introverted, a little nervous to get out there, find a partner that is more on the extroverted side. That will help alleviate a lot of stress. But even if you are going to do it solo, realize that the pauses, the the laughs, the I don't know. Let me think about that. Like, that's all part of it. It's a part of the podcast, and I think it's part of what makes it real and relatable. Because if you're just super polished, you gone on here, you never say an you never blink, you never sneeze or cough.
There's people out there not blinking.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But you never like do things that are natural, then it's not going to feel as relatable. It's going to feel like, oh, I'm listening to a recorded something, you know? So yeah, that would be my advice to folks out there that are like me. It's just, it gets easier as you go, but yeah, have a rough outline, get a partner, and don't stress about the pauses, the what's, the giving yourself time to think, the like random anecdotes that go a little bit off topic. Like, as long as you bring it back, like, that's all part of the experience. And I think what makes podcasts cool.
Gotcha.
My name is Sinclair, and I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who has created a program that takes a deep dive into your hormone levels and your overall metabolic health to create a highly personalized weight loss protocol that will have you lose up to 30 pounds, gain energy, and have you feeling so good that you go into the back of the closet and pull out that freakum dress. We all have one. So if you are ready to invest in the last weight loss program you will ever need, go to queen2queencoaching.com and book a discovery call to figure out which queen to queen package is right for you. Talk to you soon.
Another thing that's cool, random, while you check the outline, is see that nice. We did episode 2. I don't know if you remember, Queen. Where were we? Episode 2 of the Truvel Forever podcast.
Yeah.
We were in Santa Barbara. We were outside. We recorded it on a phone. I think we did have some video, but it was very, very janky video. The audio was on a phone. Background was nice and tree-ish, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was not. It was not popping. No real outline. We were just kind of out there talking about, I think, the benefits of like a meatless diet or something, or why we started going vegetarian. Go check that out, episode 2. It's not the best episode, but I think it's cool to see the growth, right? And I think that's what I'm most grateful for, is this 2.5 years, 100 episodes. You are able to see the growth of us as individuals, right? You see the Queen go from thinking about health coaching to thinking about doing an intermittent fasting plan to doing both of those things and quitting her job. You see me going through, starting the board game, but not having too much traction, messing up on the Kickstarter, to now we're on the news and all that type of dope stuff, right? You see us as a couple grow together, right? From being, we were married since we started.
I don't think so.
No? So from being engaged to buying our first property to getting married, going on our honeymoon, coming back, like, you've seen a lot of growth from us from episode 1 all the way to episode 100. So if you've been rocking with us for 100 episodes, you're a real one. Make sure you like this video, give us a comment, let us know what your favorite episode was. But maybe we appreciate you.
Maybe we were, because we recorded most of all of the episodes, if not out. We were in the condo and we were married. Okay, so yeah, we were married.
And if you've been watching since episode 1, you've also realized that 87% of the time.
You're right. Is that what you're about to say?
How did you know?
Because I'm right.
There was that 13% right there. Oh man. Okay, so now I want to get into a little bit the actual steps, right? So we kind of talked about our growth in the podcast, which is a great reason to do it, because you can document your growth. But the platform that we use, very simple, very free, is called anchor.fm. All right, we're uploading a lot of stuff there. There's tons of other platforms. I can't speak to those other platforms because that's not the ones that we've used. So if you're starting a podcast, do your own research, but you can know confidently the TH4 squad says Anchor is good to go. The good thing about Anchor is they do have a app on your phone, and that's where we recorded the first few episodes, like just within the app on Anchor. Boom, upload it right there. You can cut it up, have segments, add music. You can add sponsor things in there, sound effects, all that stuff, all online. So no matter where you are, you just have your phone or you have a computer, you can do those things. Also, beautiful thing about Anchor is when you push publish, it goes everywhere. Right? So literally from one platform, it'll go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. What else do people listen to? I don't know all the apps.
Lord knows.
But it'll go to all those different places. Okay, so literally Anchor.fm, it is free. And I think it's owned by Spotify. So there's some good statistics in there as well, but it can be better on the stats. And we are looking for Harmless Harvest to still sponsor us, right? So in case, if you got a friend, hit us up. Harmless Harvest. We drink this every day.
Every day.
You
should see our fridge. You should see our fridge and the amount of empty bottles that are laying around our bedroom.
Listen, it was a priority as we were driving from IE to Santa Barbara to pull a Harmless Harvest out of the refrigerator and take it with us on the road.
We are junkies.
Oh, man.
Thank you for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast. We hope you learned something valuable that you can take and implement into your life. Now, we've all heard that sharing is caring, and this podcast is no exception. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a stranger walking down the street, anybody who you think can level up from this message. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well.